Oops. Okay, what else? Okay. Hi, my name's Oriana. I'm a local from the Northern Beaches in Sydney. I have 3 kids and recently divorced. And I am self-employed and I work in the fitness industry. I've been in the industry for almost 2 decades, so 20 years now. Started out as a personal trainer. I just wanted to share about a story that in preparation for this film, something that came up as a possible topic is a particular experience that I may have gone through. And it's interesting now as an adult, looking back on my past and looking at my childhood and early childhood life. I was quite an introverted, shy and quite a fearful child. And but when I look back and I think about the experiences that I may have had, and one in particular was when I was about 12 years old and I was part of a sporting group back in New Zealand, competitive sporting in marching. So a marching girl where you have a team of 10 people and you learn all different categories in the competition, and it can be quite a proud sort of medal to be carrying if you were successful as a team. But I had an experience where 12-year-old girls, quite catty and bitchy, and a little bit, possessive when it came to being popular or being a best friend or close friend to the popular girl. And I happened to just naturally have a rapport with that person or that personality who was the popular one, and came across a little bit of confrontation from another girl in the team and was really bullied. And I managed to not manage, but the way I managed was I ran away and ran away from the team and decided to throw in the towel there, and but basically leaving that whole sort of group, and then thought of a way of being revengeful, like how could I get them back, and I ended up joining the competitor. So I joined another team, and who I knew was going to be far better and would mean that I would be trumping these girls who had bullied me. And I reflect on that now, and I think, wow, just to have that feistiness in me, even though I thought I was shy and introverted, to just have that fight, and it's semi-proud. I'm kind of proud because it wasn't something that someone had told me to do. It was just my own resilience to get back and show them that I was better, and I think what I take from that is that I'm quite a competitive person as well. And I have been quite a competitive person, even though I've doubted that I'm competitive. That's definitely a story that I can reflect on and see that I am. So I come from a family where we're quite a large family. Unfortunately, we've been a statistic of a broken family with divorce. My upbringing, actually, I was raised by a single mother, even though she had 6 children. I was being the youngest of the 6, I was the only one that was with her throughout my upbringing from birth, and was then reunited with the next child. It's a 4-year gap between him and I, my brother and I, when we were at 11. Oh, sorry, I was 11, he was 15. And when his name's Keith, and when we were reunited as siblings again and living together, I was so happy. It was like, all my Christmases had come at once, to have my sibling, because I was pretty much an only child up until then. but I'd heard a lot about my brothers and sisters because I was living in New Zealand, and they had immigrated over here to live with my father here in Australia. So when he moved back to live with Mum and I just idolised him. You know, anything that he was interested in, I just wanted to copy and be part of, and just be able to spend as much time as possible getting to know him. And he actually influenced me around music, especially when it came to the American hip-hop culture with graffiti artists and breakdancing and rap. And I just wanted to know and be involved with anything like that, because he was. And you know, it's quite interesting now, you know, that's what we talk about even today. He and I have this connection where we talk about hip-hop and music and artists and the evolution of hip-hop, and you know, anything really around that era in the 1980s, and that connection that we have. And I'm really grateful for that, because I think it has actually moulded me in a lot of ways to be a fighter, and not to be oppressed, and not to be you know, sort of downtrodden in a way, you know, to circumstances, that we can uprise, and you know, through music and through culture, to be, you know, a bit more positive when it comes to circumstances in life. And you know, we actually have a great relationship, and I'm grateful for that relationship out of all my brothers and sisters. My half sister, who, when my mum remarried, she had another daughter. And there's about a 12-year gap between her and I, approximately, but the three of us are quite tight. And yeah, it's good to be able to have that, you know, connection as adults. To, you know, the circumstances weren't great from the beginning, but to be able to be adults now and still have some relationship there, which I value, is to have that connection with my brothers and my sister.
Rolling and
It's all right. Look. Moving. So being interested in hip hop and the whole breakdancing, I used to follow a group in New York called Rock Steady Crew, and they had a female breakdancer called Baby Love, and I used to imitate her quite a bit, and want to copy how she used to dress and how she used to dance, and go into the full head, you know, windmills and headstands, and you know, just really get into that whole breaking sort of culture and dancing. And I really loved that. I really enjoyed being in my body. I found that, you know, that brought a sense of happiness to me, and no surprise, because now as an adult I work in an industry where I am helping people move, and now I'm a Pilates instructor here in Sydney. Yeah, it's amazing when you just kind of look at the chronological background of your life, and you see how things do evolve, and how it becomes quite a natural fit. And I really believe that, that me being interested as a young person in the area, and then coming up through the years, and then going into a field that I actually do love and very quite passionate about. And what I feel about my industry as well is, you know, it's helping people. It's helping people in a positive way to be able to take care of themselves and feel good about themselves, and have a sense of, you know, personal connection, which is something that I know that I get, and I have been able to achieve through my own practice over the years as I've been practicing Pilates. And all right, so I literally stumbled across the Pilates method back in 2003. I happened to be just in a suburb here in Sydney, and I was actually in an appointment in a corporate building off the street level, sort of second level in the building, and I was walking past one of the offices, and I saw this room with all this sort of equipment that looked like torture machines. And I thought, what was that? And I looked directly across from where the machines were was this other room. And in there was like a studio with a chiro and osteopath and physio. And they also provided, looked like they provided rehab programs, but also fitness programs. And because I was working in the industry, I was like even more intrigued. So I walked in and I asked them what was happening next door with all that equipment that looked like torture machines. And the lady advised me that that was actually what they call a Pilates reformer. And I was like, oh, what is that? You know, what's a reformer? And she told me that it was like an exercise method created by Joseph Pilates. So I asked, you know, is there any way that I can participate or enroll in this class to be able to trial the machines? And ironically, there was one within the next 20 minutes. So I booked in and did my first ever reformer Pilates class. And, you know, we did like a 45-minute covering the entire body using this machine. It was like pulling ropes with springs that were providing the resistance. And this was my first time ever becoming aware of Pilates, but straight away my body responded to that movement and to the different sequences like it was like a flow, and it flowed like a dance. And I was like, oh wow, I love this. Like, I need to teach, I need to know as much as possible. And I suppose that's where my sort of competitive edge came in. I was like, I need to teach and I need to lead and I need to be the one that really is at the forefront of this method, because it wasn't really that popular back then here in Sydney anyway. So that was my first introduction, and then I looked into how I could further educate myself and inquired about different classes or courses that I could do, and did my first mat class, remedial mat class. So that wasn't using the machines, it was just using a mat with a few props, and got qualified in that and never really looked back. When it came to specialising, that was the area that I decided that right then that I was going to specialise in, and it's been one of the best decisions that I have made for myself. It's created sustainability for me to be able to have a competitive edge to other personal trainers in the industry, and also opened me up in terms of what demographics that I could serve as well. So, you know, whether you're a senior down to an athlete or just the general population or a child, I'm able to adapt the programs to suit, which is really great for my industry and more an industry like the fitness and health industry, because there's so many variables that you can go into there, and I really do like that what I'm providing is authentic, it's natural, there's nothing artificial or synthetic when it comes to that practice, which I'm very passionate about when it comes to a leader, me as a leader in the industry, but also educating and trying to inspire others to take responsibility for their health and to be healthy and strong and flexible. So yes, coming from a family where it was broken, with my origins, I have had quite a bit of reflection and therapy around that area to manage, and you know, I've done a few different courses or therapy, and one in particular was one around healing. And then that particular course, I went away. We went to like a private property in the Hunter Valley, and you couldn't take any technology, so no phones, no computers, and pretty much no contact with the outside. You just needed to really be present to the other people who were there, and also for the leaders who were part of the support group. And what I was able to become aware of is that there was some processing that I needed to go through around post-traumatic stress. And I was able to become aware of how PTSD plays out and how I can go into thoughts or behaviours that are self-sabotaging, and identifying what those self-sabotaging habits were for me and how I needed to, or if I chose to, I realised I had a choice, and how I chose to manage and work through those behaviours and self-fulfilling patterns that were inevitably going to repeat the same cycles. What I also was able to become aware of was that the body keeps the score. There's a great therapist, psychologist and psychotherapist, Vessel van der Kolk. He's done a lot of research around this area of PTSD and how that the body holds and stores trauma. And in a way, my trajectory in what I do for my work and what actually brings me a sense of peace and calm through my movement, through exercise, is a way of me managing and dealing with that stress and how that processes through and has helped me recover really in a lot of ways, as well as the mental recovery that I've done through the process of therapy, the physical recovery of moving and breaking down the stress that's been stored in my cells. So, I don't only see exercise and fitness from the perspective of just aesthetically looking good. That's not my purpose and passion. I believe that because movement and exercise for the body is healing, I believe that it's another therapy. Physiotherapists work to heal injuries, but it's more than just the injuries. It's also working within any other storage that could be emotionally locked into the cells and muscles from trauma. And trauma doesn't necessarily have to be something major like childhood abuse or neglect. It could be just the impact of being in a car and you're in a car accident. That could also be a form of trauma as well that can affect you and have an impact on your life. So yes, I feel very responsible in what I do and the role that I play if I am presented with the opportunities with people to be able to serve them. And that's an area that I can then draw on from my own experiences around my own healing and my own practices to be able to help others. And that's my core value. My core values is to be authentic, to really practice what you preach, and to be authentic in my own life, and from there be able to share from a place of truth with others. So yes. So how have I self-sabotaged? I was married. So if I'm in a sort of struggle when it comes to areas that I might be limiting myself in moving forward or being stuck, an area that I've learnt to practice and embrace is also reaching out, like having a core group of people in my life that I can connect with, who know me, and who I actually have quite a bit of connection, where we've been real and vulnerable with each other around life. And so having a core group of people in my life that I can reach out to is something that I value, and it's really been a sort of a bridge to connection as well. You know, having a human connection with other people who I trust is something that has been a breakthrough for me to level me in a way, to know that I don't have to do life or process difficult moments in life on my own and work out the solution. Because out of the millions of people or billions of people in this world, there are going to be, you know, people who have experienced either similar or gone through a life trial that I can reflect on and bounce off and ask for their experience on that particular area. And you know, with my children, I have, you know, varying ages. I've got a young adult who's now 24 and a teenage girl and a teenage son, and you know, learning how to parent them and also, you know, have a relationship with them at the same time is something that I wasn't personally married, or I was really kind of had a more of a parent adult. I was more that role to my mum. She was more like a child. So I've had to learn a lot of these skills and seek out, you know, through other wisdom. You know, and there's lots of wisdom there and available to us, like through books. But for me, I've got to have, for some reason, real life experiences with people that I trust and people that I see living, you know, and it comes back to that authentic, I should say, life, and overcome through, and being able to share the strength around those areas. So, you know, that's something that I've had to, you know, really become humble. It's probably something I've had to really tune into and not rely on myself or put shame on myself for not knowing, you know, not knowing a lot. And in fact, the more I've grown over the years, and now in my mid-40s, I realise that there is a lot that I don't know. And you know, there's no shame in not knowing. And you know, in fact, the more that I reach out and the closer I get to people, the more happier I am, because again, it comes back to that connection. I'm connecting, and you know, it's healing to have that, and it's not self-condemning or self-sabotaging, because you know, I can easily get into that harsh critic, and from that critical perspective, you know, repress or self-doubt, and that's where, you know, I can come out of what could possibly be a positive outcome. I could be self-sabotaging. So yeah, so that's just one sort of area that I would definitely encourage, you know, my children and my people I care about, or my clients, is to, you know, put your hand up. It's okay. It's okay if you don't know, and ask for help in areas in life, because you know, don't have to do it alone. Oh, Bella, 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 good girl, Bella, good girl, Bella, good girl, Bella, good girl, that's okay, good girl, good protection, good morning, Bella, good girl, good girl. I wasn't expecting it to be so still shots as much. That's all. So.